explain why you opposed approving the American Academy Charter School when it is now one of the best schools in the state?
Did everybody hear the question?
Yes.
Okay.
You're talking about a situation that happened a few years ago, and I along with 9 other people, opposed the mitigation tax proposal that was before the, at that time, Castle Pines North is what the city was called, now it's Castle Pines. So I opposed the tax mitigation piece and spoke as a CPN resident against that particular proposal. I also spoke, which it hasn't come out until tonight, about the traffic congestion along Legay and also Monarch. And I was as concerned about, which has turned out to be the case, all the traffic issues and congestion that are happening at Castle Pines Parkway, Legay, and around on the other side for Monarch. That's why I spoke against it. It had nothing to do with American Academy. I have approved charters in the past when I was the assistant superintendent of HR, but it had to do with that particular issue with regard to American Academy. And they are an excellent school, by the way.
Are you Rebecca?
Sure.
Okay.
The attack on charter schools is never an attack on charter schools. It's always an attack on some element surrounding them, so traffic, tax mitigation. The fact of the matter is, American Academy is an excellent school. The fact of the matter is that Castle Pines North is a good place for it, and they are better off for it being there as well. Charter schools were previously not treated very well under Bill's, when Bill was assistant superintendent. They didn't get a share of local tax dollars until we came in and gave them local tax dollars. They had very great difficulty in working with the district in terms of the administrative costs and the services that they were being provided by the district. So, charter schools, the attack on charter schools is never, we don't like charter schools. So you don't like some element of charter schools, and that is the reason for opposing them. I am proud that we have 7,000 more charter kids now than when we walked in. We have 5 new schools, and we will continue to encourage charters in our community.
Okay, so do you have a question for, okay, perfect, yes.
So my question is, we talk about a lot of the reforms that have been coming out. One of those reforms is, I'm sure the existing board members are familiar with it, and probably Ms. Reynolds sitting on the back, is a program called Emergenetics, which is a personality or learning style profile of students. At our elementary school, our school had money to implement a personality or a learning profile of our students. However, our school doesn't have money for an art teacher. Is this what you see from a reform platform, that we get rid of the basics and we implement reforms like learning personalities?
The short answer is no. No, I don't see scrapping things like art or music or other things like that in favor of a personality test. So I think there's a couple of different things, a couple of different aspects to this. One is, of course, we've discussed a number of things this evening about site-based budgeting. So you have a certain amount of money that goes to a school at the beginning of the year to hire staff, personnel, teachers, and then the principal makes that decision and those choices. So later in the year, as you come through, then you start to get opportunities for other things like Emergenetics. So it is not something that's built into the programming at the beginning of the year. However, it comes along as an opportunity as the year gets going. So Emergenetics is something that schools can decide whether they want to pursue. And so you can, there's certain pots of funding that may have been from grant money or from other sources that are being used to administer this test. Emergenetics is a test that helps people understand, how a child may learn or what a child can do in the classroom, etc. It's very, very general. This 1 minute is not enough time to explain what Emergenetics is about. However, this is I don't view this as an either/or. There's grant money that came to provide Emergenetics testing. However, I view this the general pot of things, including art teachers, music, math, science, as your general programming that goes on within your school. This other thing is this one-time opportunity. It's not an ongoing thing that we continue to do for our students.
It's a one-time opportunity that's being provided by someone who was previously on the cabinet of this school district, who started a company and is now doing this. Our school district has spent more than $1 million already just testing teachers and getting them involved and training them how to do it. $1 million spent on a personality test. It's like that time when we used to, be a certain color or whatever, right? It doesn't make any sense to me. Good teachers know how individual students learn in their classroom, and they can accommodate their learning needs individually without spending millions of dollars on a test. And let me tell you right now that many of these reform efforts, in fact, most of these reform efforts, are not at all funded by the school district. In fact, they're funded by the PTOs of the schools. I've been the PTO treasurer for a long time at Larkspur Elementary and now at the middle school and the high school. We have bought desks, we have bought curriculum, we have bought teachers, educational assistants. That's what your PTO dollars are going for now. They're not going for things that are meaningful for the kids. They are going for these things that should be part of our site-based budget. Instead, we're being forced to, and I will say forced to, do these changes, these reforms that the schools have no reason to do or want to do. Thank you.
A question for Bill and Julie and whatnot. Ed?
You mentioned something earlier in your introductions where you talked about parent involvement. And I don't think I hear enough about parent involvement because I don't think it's just the teacher's fault, whether a student does poorly or as teachers, to be rewarded when a student does well. And the fact that, students are hanging out at King Soopers, my senior came to me and said, hey, I only have to take 2 classes my last semester to graduate. I said, not in our household, you don't take 2. Go sign up for more. So I know there's a minimum to graduate. That doesn't mean a good parent can't say, sign up for a couple more. So my question is there anything that the board of directors can do to increase parent involvement?
May I take that? So I told you I started 2 organizations that help to bring parents back and to be back involved in their kids' education at the secondary level. I think parent engagement is huge, and I think that I am a great parent to my children. I have great, smart kids, and I help them be great, smart kids. My son, however, graduated from Castleview High School last year as a junior. He went to college at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania at the age of 16 because his school could no longer offer rigorous classes, AP classes, the things that he needed to be challenged. So rather than trying to force him to take a bunch of classes that weren't necessary for him or weren't engaging him, we let him go away to college. So that's what this decision we made as a parent. There were 10 other students at Castleview High School this year who graduated as juniors. There's something wrong with that we're not providing enough opportunity to the kids in the classrooms in the high schools. My son self-studied for 5 AP classes because they no longer offer them at his school or any school around him. So there's a problem with that. The site-based budgets that we talk about do not adequately fund enough teachers for us to have our students go to school full-time and take rigorous classes. And so I think we have to have parents who say, no, you must take classes, but I will tell you right now, I was part of Castleview High School having to make those cuts last year. I worked with the principal to get it out to parents, and he will tell you, we had to ask students to go to school part-time, not because parents didn't want them to, but because there simply were not enough dollars at the school level to fund enough teachers to teach all the students in our schools. So my kids also take full-time schedules, but only because I've offered to pay for it. I've actually offered to pay for my kids to take a full-time schedule because I think it's so important. Like you, I think it's very important. But we just literally don't have the money at the school level. So I think the Board of Education could look at freeing money and getting more money down to the site-based budgets so the schools can make better choices for the kids. We can get parents involved by actually asking them what they think. Imagine that. We actually ask them what they think and we take them along the ride with us. And we do reforms and we change education with parents' involvement so they want to be part of the process. So that's what I would do. Thanks.
We're putting a higher percentage of dollars back in the classroom than before we showed up. So we are actually cutting administration, cutting $2 million out of central administration, cutting things like union FTE that did no work for the district, putting a higher percentage of the education dollar back in the classroom. The money is what the money is. We can't print money. We have to deal with the money that we have available. The lack of rigor is just nonsense. It's not true. As a matter of fact, we have doubled the amount of kids who are taking AP tests. We've doubled the amount of AP classes available. We have dramatically increased international baccalaureate program participation. Our test scores are all up. Students are being very rigorously challenged in classes. And your point is really a good one. These, particularly as they get into the juniors and senior years, they're learning how to live on their own. They need to learn how to make choices themselves. So your involvement is great. You're right, you don't take 2 classes, I'd be the same way. Parental involvement is important in that, and we have increased that. Thank you.
Please ask Mr. Benevento for the facts, the actual supporting documentation for his facts. We have supporting documentation for all of ours, so please ask the same. Ask him. Thank you.
Julie, please don't force out. I mean, we're trying to keep this as civil and respectful as possible. But, you know, when you can stand up and you can speak to that, that would be great. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yes.
Could you please give us your opinion on how the highest paid superintendent in Colorado should be evaluated in light of the new pay for performance evaluation implemented for all other staff in the district, and should it be directly linked to 100% of our students making a year's growth? Want me to read it again?
No, I think please tell me if I haven't addressed everything. So, when we started our performance-based system, we started with our teachers. And so we asked our teachers to come help us develop an evaluation system that we could tie performance pay to do that. And so previously, the performance-based system was not a performance-based system at all. In fact, we still had our wage scale that was based on seniority and education. So now we have a system based on performance. So now we're moving it up. We're moving it up to administration, which we call lead. We've got our upper level administration, not just teachers, that's moving into the performance-based system. So now it's moving up some more. We're talking about our upper administration being evaluated, and this is all flowing upward. So, you know, we've got, and this happens in my place of work too. Your highest folks, that their performance depends on what's going on down here. You know, the ability to lead a workforce depends on what are the results down here and how does that flow upward? How does the person up here get held accountable for what's happening down here? So yes, I do see the superintendent being evaluated based on her performance and what that looks like down here in the rank and file. So we are in those discussions, you know, under our personnel system. So how can we make sure that there's an accurate reflection of what of her evaluation here? And as you know, and I'm sure you know, state law says that the evaluation of the superintendent is public record. So any citizen will be able to look at that and be assured that it is tied to what's going on down here. So yes, I do see that. Does that answer your question?
And should it be directly linked to 100% of our students making a year's growth?
Making a year's growth, okay. You know, I would like to see that. I would like to be assured that our superintendent is facilitating growth for our students and accurate measures, accurate and defined measures, that not only our staff has an opportunity to participate in, but also our district leadership. Just like we had with our evaluation system for our teachers, evaluation system for our upper level, what does that look like? So yes, I would like to see that.
I would tell you, I provided Meghann and Doug and the other board members back when they hired Liz salary comparisons, and they decided to pay her more than the governor of the state. They paid her more than the sitting superintendent who had 12 years of experience. They paid her more than the superintendent in New York City, Chicago, and LA, and they have doubled the students that Liz has. With regard to her evaluation, absolutely. It needs to be year's growth. It also needs to be tied to a survey that is sent to students and staff and community and parents and teachers, and that should be a part of her evaluation. What Meghann talks about, they should have done when Liz got here and not talk about what they're going to do with her in the future.